Welcome back, and today we're going to be having a look at how you piece together the larger outworld, the Byd Mawr. So as before, you're going to have two packets. You're going to have a packet full of the acrylic parts and a packet full of the printed parts, as well as the screws and connectors. You can go ahead and get them undone, take off all of the sheets that protect it, and we're ready to start. Perfect. Now we have everything laid out. We have our plastic parts, the screws, hex key, as well as the acrylic for the lid and the sides. We're going to start, as before, with the smaller brother of this one, with the base. The base, as you can see, has two engravings on it, one that says up and front, one that says up and back. For the rest of this video, we're going to use this section here as the front, the short edge with the hole. So we can take our first section, which is the trim piece, and we notice we have a number of screws to connect to the base. The front connects with these holes on this side. Once you go ahead and screw all of these in, it's important to do them loosely first, and once they're all in and threaded, you can go through and do them tighter. Doing them loosely first prevents you cross-threading any of these brackets. Again, as before, please do not use any power tools. Each screw should be done by hand to avoid too much pressure and too much power being applied to these small brass threads. If you use an excess force, like with a power tool, it can rip them out of the actual plastic. So, once you've got all of those screwed in, we'll restart the video. And here we go. So we've got them all screwed in nice and loosely at the moment. You can see here there's a nice big gap all the way around, but every screw has a couple of turns made in it. Once you've done that, you can then go ahead and connect them all up tightly, but only until they stop turning. With all of the screws on, we can slot that into the base section. Just like before, we're going to find the front inside panel, which will have the engraving F1 on it, F1, and then we're going to turn that to face inside and clip that in there. We're going to have two screws to screw up on this side, which holds the acrylic to the actual modular port itself, and then we're going to have two screws to do up on this side here. Once you've done them, we can move on to the first side. With all four screws on this side done, we can then move over to the right inside piece. Here, right inside, with an arrow pointing to the front. So, we can slot that in here, but it's important at this stage, this panel stays fairly loose. So we're going to loosely do all of the screws, then we'll move on to the back before tightening them. With the front and right now done, we can move on to the back and left panels. Once complete, we'll take a look at the top connectors and how they work. Perfect. Now, for the connectors, you will see that there's two larger ones for the middle, and then the small ones that we're already familiar with will be used around the outside. So, we're going to connect everything initially to the two longest sides. Once everything's connected to the two longest sides, we can then use this edge to pull it back flush and make connections. With all of the sides now done, we can move into the front section. Front section's easy. You can make your connection, and then you can tighten it up until it is in line with the other panel. In this case, that is perfect. If you need to close it in this side because there's a hairline gap, you can screw in on this screw. We're just going to go ahead and do all four of those. And once they're all done, I'll come back to you. All screws are now complete on the sides. It's time to move on to the lid. You have nice connections all the way around. Like I said before, if you get a gap here, it's worth loosening off this connection and this connection, and then you bring it into the end glass first. Once it's on there, you can bring this side in using it. That's why there's a few millimeters gap, just to try and get it as snug as possible. As always with the lid, we have a small arrowed engraving. Feel which side it's on, place that side up and point it to the front. We can now do all 8 screws in this section. All that's left to do now is to place the 2 frames inside the lid. Your Outworld's going to come with 1 blanking port. Extra connectors can be picked up at the same time, as well as 1 barb. And we can screw on the tops of those now, as well as the lid handles. And with the click of our fingers, we should have an absolutely lovely Outworld.